All right. Well, welcome everybody. Super excited to have so many of you on today, and honestly, really excited to have a conversation with Dan Doyle. So, as many of you know, a group of us went to Eric Worre's home, gosh, a couple of weeks ago now, and it was a lot of the top leaders in ASEA, and I was fortunate enough to get an invitation to go. And I got to have a conversation with Dan in the evening, and that's the beautiful part of live events. So I hope all of you that are within the U.S. have your tickets to Nashville, because yes, there's the event, but then there's like the event after the event, which is the conversations that happen, when you're sitting down in the evening. And I got to talking with Dan about how he's built his business and what he does strategically in conversations with people, both on his team and when he's reaching out to new people. And I just thought, man, he's a genius. There's no wonder. Dan has one of the largest businesses in ASEA, one of the top earners in the company, and Dan had no prior network marketing experience. So I just think it's going to be really exciting to talk with him a bit and get some insight into how he works his business. So Dan's in Hawaii right now, and it's 6:30 in the morning there. So Dan, thank you so much for waking up early for all of us. You've got people calling in from across the US and Europe mainly with us now. And I guess let's just start with, saying hi, maybe giving everybody a little introduction into, I guess the brief story, 1 to 2 minutes maybe, of how you found ASEA originally. You're muted.
Thanks, Danielle. Thanks for coming on the call, everybody. It is very, very early here in Honolulu in Hawaii. So excuse my glass eyes. I'm just going to move you guys so I can see you up here. Fantastic. Well, we did get to have a discussion in Las Vegas, didn't we, at Eric Worre's place? And that is the beauty about getting together with other leaders, because you're sort of talking to each other and picking each other's brains, and things come out that you may not have been doing or heard of. And I mean, before I get into the conversation, I always want to say you guys are incredible leaders in yourself. You're on this call, but you do have leaders you're working with. So what you're going to hear from me today may not be gospel, and I'm always conscious of that. So just want to make sure that you guys just assess what I'm going through and see if it fits in with your plan to build your ASEA business. I wasn't looking for a network marketing company, I can tell you. I wasn't looking for a business whatsoever. Most of you guys know my story. I had two major challenges, and I was looking for a solution to my problem. And thank goodness that Bart Cotter came along and called me, and he knew I was in trouble. And he handed me this gift of ASEA, and thank goodness for me, I opened that gift and I utilized it. So in regards to the business, time went on, and it became a responsibility to share this with others. And as far as building the business, the rest is history. I built the business in probably different ways that other people don't build the business. And I can say to you, we want to put a duplicatable system in place, but I can tell you there were things that I did that weren't duplicatable whatsoever. But I think as leaders, we need to adopt whatever works. And, if there's a few things that I go through today that resonates, as I said, take them on. But I can tell you I wouldn't have the business that I've got today if it wasn't for the actions that I took at the time, especially at the beginning of building my ASEA business. So yeah, I wasn't looking for building a product-based network marketing company. I always say in my presentations, if you came to me 10 years ago with Amway this way or that way, I would have definitely run the other way. Definitely. I had no interest whatsoever in the industry because I came from traditional business. But I can tell you, you guys are in the right place. This is the best business model on the planet, and we're aligned with a company that has taken the network marketing business model to a level that no other company has. Just in regards to, just a few things. The majority of the people on this call are female, which is great. As we know, 70% of the network marketing industry are females. Thanks, guys, for coming on here and supporting me. I can see there's a few guys on the call. Who, by the way, watched the event over the weekend? Most Powerful Women in Network Marketing. Yeah, fantastic. And who didn't? For those who didn't, I don't know why you're here watching me, because I mean they're the guys that are most successful. So thanks for having the faith in me. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean I hung around Danielle over that event in Vegas, and 70% of the people in this industry are women, and you guys are the most successful. And I want to make sure that I hang around people with strengths that I don't have, to cover those weaknesses that I've got. So I'm always looking to building a team around me that have the strengths to cover my weaknesses, and that was a part of my strategy with hanging around Danielle on that weekend.
Thanks, Dan. It was mutually beneficial. I kind of want to talk about the conversation we were having. It was me, you, and Mauricio, and I thought, okay, so you're his upline, and I went, well, how deep is he? And we started talking, and I think you told me he was almost 12 deep in your business from you. And so that's the power of tap rooting. And then I started to ask, and I thought, oh well, like maybe he just got lucky, right? Like somebody popped in somewhere, whatever. And I'm like, there's no luck. I said, Dan, how did you do this? How did it all start? And he started sharing with me how he brought in someone and how he started working in his warm market. And Dan, can you kind of share that story? Because I think it's there's different types of people in this business. There are ones that are come in and are going to build a business, but there's others that are connectors. And knowing what to do as a leader with someone that's a connector is really important. And I would say that's what happened, that built out then the leg that you have there. So can you share with them the story of how that got started?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask you a question back. I mean, you know this. What does Danny Robbins say? You run with the
Runners.
You jog with the
Joggers.
You walk with the
Walkers.
And you stop with the
Stoppers.
So I'm looking deep in my organization for the runners, and I'm always doing that. But if we sort of go back to a little bit to the beginning when I first started to build the business, and I made a decision to do so, I never depended on anybody that I brought on board to build their business themselves. And even today, I never depend on anybody, upline, downline, crossline, to build my business. But I'm always looking to give somebody a reason to engage in the business, and especially in the early days when I had time. So what I did, I brought a lot of people. Well, I mean, the width of my business is only 80 wide at my level, which is not too many people, to be honest. 80 people I brought in, and there was a few people in there that, to be honest with you, I knew that they were never going to build the business, so you couldn't even include them in the 80. So what I did, I made sure when people were coming on board, and this is something that may not be duplicatable, but it did build my organization, especially my weaker leg. I used to get lists and lists and lists of contacts of every single person that came on board. I would ask for a list of 10 to 20 of the most influential people that they knew, not just locally, but globally, because we had the opportunity to build a global business from day one. This is something that I spoke about at Eric Worre's. So I tapped into their list, and I would call on their behalf. And people say, well, what did you say? I just call and say, hey, Steve, Danielle Matthews passed on your number, and I introduced this health breakthrough, and people are getting some pretty incredible results regardless of what they're going through with their health. They're saying it's the biggest breakthrough in health in our lifetime. And you're at the top of the list as me to give you a call as an expert on the subject to let you know what this is and what it could potentially do for you and your family. And then I would go into what it is. And I would be bringing people on board for people that had handed me these lists. I didn't want any downtime or any what I call white spots in my daily planner. I run everything through a daily planner. And if I wasn't bringing people on personally, I would have these lists on this old couch behind me in a second bedroom in Sydney when I first got started. And there were literally hundreds of people on these lists from all different people in the team as I was building. So any downtime that I had, I'd be picking up the phone and I'd be going through that. So one example was a guy by the name of Jeff Wood. Jeff Wood is he's a dime in the business, but he's not really active and hasn't been for many years, or hasn't been ever, to be honest, because what happened was I called him on behalf of somebody. So this is a story that built my whole right leg. And as you know, your weak leg is your pay leg. So I contacted Jeff and I said, hey, Jeff, this is Dan Doyle. A friend of yours, Dennis Ferrer, passed on your number. He wanted me to give you a call, exactly the same thing. I let him know about the biggest breakthrough in health we'll ever come across, and you're at the top of his list. Everybody you call, they're the top of the list, by the way. You're at the top of the list for me to explain as a world authority what this breakthrough is all about. So Jeff Wood goes, who's Dennis Ferrer? Now, this supposedly was a good friend. Now I go, wow, what a great start that was. Here we go. So I just got in an elevator pitch, just enough for Jeff to say, hey, listen, I'm a busy accountant. I've got the biggest accountancy practice in my area in Sydney. I've built a network marketing company. I've got 1 million people in that network marketing company, but mind you, his pay leg only had 1,000 people in it. And he said, but you've piqued my interest. He said, I will give you 30 minutes at my house between two clients that I'm meeting this Sunday, which was an hour and a half drive for me. So I went to his house and I knocked on the door, and his wife Akiko opened the door. And you guys may know Akiko and Jeff would have heard of them. And Jeff is sitting over at the couch. He's got his foot up and his ankle is swollen about this big. And I've just gone, yes. So I've walked in. I said, just hang on a sec. I've got some stuff out of the car that could help. So he's given me 30 minutes. And I rubbed the gel into his ankle, the Renew 28, and sitting there talking to Jeff for 30 minutes. And after we finished, and he had to kick me out the door because there was another client that came in, he's got up, and prior to getting there, he couldn't stand on his foot, let alone walk, and he walked me to the door. And he goes, this is mind-blowing. And we literally witnessed his ankle go down in 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes. It was just amazing. He had a huge bruise too that wasn't prominent after that period of time. He said, listen, he said, this is interesting. Then he started coughing. I thought, oh, this is good. And I've got something else in the car. So I brought him after explaining what the acea redox was, and he drank that. And he said, I've had that cough for 2 years, and it went on the spot. I literally just stopped. So he said, this is great. He said, this is obviously something very special. He said, what I'll do, if you want to, he said, I don't have time to build this business. He said, I can give you a few names. So that's literally how this sort of idea or concept started. He gave me 17 names. I built his business just through those contacts to a bronze business within 3 months. And I called Jeff and I said, Jeff, you're a bronze executive in ASEA. And he said, what's ASEA? I said, that stuff you're drinking. He goes, oh, okay. I said, listen, if you're willing to give me a few more names, I said, I can continue building a business for you. I said, you're earning at the moment in Australian dollars is about $2,000 to $4,000 a month. So obviously all this was building up in his smart wallet, and he hadn't taken his emails, so he didn't know what he was earning. So I continued to build the business. In a very, very short time, I built his business to gold. And then 18 months later, I literally built it to diamond executive for him through his contacts. So as I said, the idea of, taking these lists of people and starting to, contact people for people, that started in the very early days. I do duplicate that through the team, through anybody that can do it. But it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy to pick up the phone for people that you know personally, let alone for people that you're calling on behalf of other people. Actually, that's probably a little bit easier because you don't know them at all. And even though it's a cold call, it's a little bit warm. So people seem to respond, especially when you're saying, hey, obviously Jeff's thinking of you and your family, and you're at the top of his list. So, and then what happened over time with that particular business, obviously I ran with the runners within the business. So there were people within that business that were running, and over a period of time, unfortunately for Jeff and Akiko, their business went down to, bronze or silver because they weren't active in building the business. And I was working in their particular business that was moving really fast. So it wasn't as if I was going to try and keep building both sides of their business. I was running with the runners. So yeah, that's how I kicked off with literally picking up the phone. And I say to the team, see if you can get those contact lists of 10 to 20 people, because people that come on board that are really excited, they may drop out, and you've still got a contact list that you can still get into that could potentially build a business and get them engaged, get them excited as well. And the other thing we did too in Australia is we did put people in as associates, only for the fact that you could only get our products if you're an associate because of NFR. So that's how we started. The thing I love about putting people in as associates, and we are looking to build this business through preferred customers as well, obviously, is that there is a lot of people that do come back that want to build a business, even if they've got a health challenge and they're getting results. But a good strategy these days is to bring them in as a preferred customer, and because a lot of people will miss out on getting the different packs. So bring them in on the pack that they want to come in, and then later on you've got the opportunity to upgrade them through an associate if they want to upgrade to a business pack or an entrepreneur pack. So yeah, that's how I've got going. I still duplicate that through the team. As I said, it's not really a duplicatable action, but for those who can pick up the phone on other people's behalf, fantastic, do so. And if you can get those contact lists from your team before anybody drops out of your business, there's an opportunity potential there to be able to build the business for that person who's giving you those contacts. Now, you did ask me the question about digging down into the business.
Yes.
So would you believe, Danielle, that meeting with Jeff and Akiko Wood actually led to Maurizio Munoz? If I didn't pick up the phone for Dennis Ferrer, who Jeff Wood had no idea who that was, that wouldn't have led to my whole business in Florida. So Akiko got active in the business, which was Jeff's wife, just mildly. They did interview, bring on a handful of people. And I started working with those people, and there's sort of three ladies in Australia that came on board in that downline, which led to Sandy Reed in Clearwater, Florida, which led to Kayleen and Maurizio. And then Kayleen and Maurizio are the ones that really moved with the business. So I physically went to Florida around about 4 years ago. I think it was the Orlando convention. And that's where I met Sandy. And I said to Sandy at the time, I said, listen, if you want to move with this and you're going to put some time and effort in, I'll come back and I'll help and support you. And I did that. And I came back for about 7 weeks and spent 7 weeks in Florida. And we moved that business with Kayleen and Maurizio coming on board into 15 countries in 15 markets in that 7 weeks. So from Jeff and Akiko, literally Maurizio was around 12 deep from me. So I'm always looking to depth for those runners through my whole organization. I'm working with people in the UK that have come on board now. They're the same. They're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 deep. And I've got a lady who's hit, she's hit bronze in like 4 weeks. So yeah, we're always looking for any potential leaders within our organization, and you've really got to keep an eye on your back office. Have a look at your statistics. Make sure that you're not missing anybody that's achieving director 300, director 700. You might have a bronze slip by that you never saw, but make sure that when these people are achieving these ranks, you reach down to them and say, hey, do you need help? Do you want a hand? I'm here to support you. And as I say all the time, my time is your time. So don't hesitate, because people tend to be concerned about reaching out to somebody at such a high rank. And it's not the case. I mean, we're all even in this business. And we are right across the board when it comes to not just upline, downline, but also crossline. And that's why we're here today.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so much that you pointed out that I want people to highlight, because some of your all's businesses are not as large as Dan's. You're like, wow, 15 deep. What does that even feel like? You'll get there. But he's very strategic. The question he's asking of those contacts that come in is your most influential contacts, not who has cancer, who has this, who has that, not who's really sick that needs the product, who's most influential. Because we know that if we get someone that's influential, it can open up the door to a lot more people. And along the way, all the people that need the product, will get the product and hear about the product. So I wanted to point out that. And then, Dan, you said that, so you get somebody in that's running. What does it look like when you have someone that wants to engage in the business? how do you get them started? Is there a training system you go to, or like what is the first step that you give somebody to get going?
Yeah, I mean, I always use the KISS method, always. I keep things as simple as possible, and I don't like to confuse people. And I always say to people when they initially come on board that want to build a business, do not get caught up in analysis paralysis. Forget absolutely everything except income generating activity. And that income generating activity is picking up the phone and getting people on the phone to me as quickly as possible. And that's how I start. Even I'll plug them into Facebook groups, and I'll send them various links, but I keep that really, really basic. I want them to literally do the things that's going to get money into their pocket. And it's not about them making money. I explain to them it's a byproduct of the people they're helping. I mean, what we're trying to do is get this into people's hands as quickly as possible. And the more they do that, the more money they will eventually make. As Tyler said at the first meeting I went to, which was a fly-in back 7 years ago, one of the first things that was said in that meeting that they don't want anybody involved in the business that has ego and economics above principles and purpose, and that's what we live by, and that's what we drive this business by. So we make sure that people are helping people and helping people to help people, and I want to do that as quickly as possible. So I get people to connect me with people as quickly as possible, and I want them to earn money in the first week, the first 2 weeks, because if you're doing that, the numbers show that 70% of people will stay in your business if they earn money in the first week or two, and after that it drops substantially or drop down to 30% really fast. So I just want to make sure we can help and support people to get them to bring somebody on board, get them to director, get them to the lower ranks as quickly as possible. So yeah, my daily activity, my actions with them, literally from day one is saying, hey, okay, who can you get me on the phone to? Can you bring anybody on to our Zoom calls? We've got so many calls to support you. I think that Zoom calls, Discover a Seers, and three-way calls would be even, I was going to say 95%, I'd probably even say up to 98% of our business. The other 2% is what we're doing now. And, teaching people about the comp plan or telling them a little bit more about the product and the science behind it. That's a very, very small percentage. But we wanted to make sure that our DMO, our actions, our what we do on a daily basis is I'm going to say it again, it's income producing. If it's income producing, the business is building and we're getting product into people's hands. So I keep it that simple. And I think you find that, some of the most successful leaders in this business do keep it that simple. So yeah, guys, don't get caught up with, these trainings are great. You definitely need it. And hopefully you're getting some gold nuggets today, and it's helping you have a think and reassess how you're building your business and working out a bit of a strategy or a plan. But don't get caught up in just training, or wanting to know about the comp plan or wanting to know about the science. The thing that's going to build your business is getting somebody to help and support you to reach out and to talk to the people that you know, or the people that are coming on board that they know.
Absolutely. And one of the things I remember, I'll never forget, when, oops, I didn't mean to just have me be spotlight. We're going to add you to. Mauricio said to me that one of the first things you said to him when he started his business was, I'm your biggest tool. You need to use me. And
well, that doesn't sound good.
What happened, right? Like he had just put people in front of you, brought you in. And you need to
we'll say best tool.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I know some people on this call, there's a little, sometimes they're a little hesitant to reach out or to ask for help. And I just want to reiterate, look, myself, your uplines that are on this call, even, others that are on this call, you guys are in mastermind groups together. That's what we're here for. That is where our time should be spent. As Dan said, like, that's an income producing activity. Yeah, I'm doing my own recruiting, but helping you recruit for yourself is just as important, if not even more, to get your business moving. That's why network marketing is so beautiful, because when you win, I win, right? And that's what we're trying to create here. So don't ever not ask for help. And yes, Zoom calls are great. Yes, these webinars are great, but those one-on-one conversations, if you need them, ask for them, especially with your influential people. So
Yeah, we're not mind readers. We don't know who wants to build the business unless we keep an eye on statistics. But I mean, if someone came to us and they either, hold back and then make a decision, we need to know that you want to do that. But I can tell you that from our point of view, and even from yours, I mean, one of the most precious things with what we have with building a network marketing business is our time, and that time has to be productive time. And I'm always talking about the difference between being busy and being productive. If you're busy running around like a chook with its head cut off, you're going to go nowhere. You need to make sure that everything that you're doing is productive. And something that I learned a few years ago from Denny Robinson again, she, said to me, because sometimes, especially back in the early day, I was on phone calls for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. She said, Dan, you've got to cut them back, which I did do. And I had to learn how to literally cut people off that were, with conversations that weren't heading in the right direction. So, she said, even if you don't have a call, say you do have a call and you're moving to something else if somebody's taking up too much of your time. So when I adopted that, I became a lot more productive again. And my time, my calls came down to 30 minutes. My three-way calls do not go over 30 minutes these days. I keep them down to 30 minutes. At the 25-minute mark, they should be begging for the product or wanting to get involved. You need to do that with your upline. The biggest mistake that we made back in the early days is trying to handle a conversation ourselves. Never ever handle a conversation with anybody that you know, even though remotely. It just does not work. I mean, even now with all my knowledge and experience, I can't ring family or friends or anybody that I've built a relationship with, even though it might be a new relationship, because people only know you as growing up, going to school, getting a job, going into business. All of a sudden you've come up with the biggest breakthrough in health we'll ever come across, and you're trying to tell them all about this, and you're going to confuse them. They're going to trust you or not believe you, or believe you or not trust you. So even with my knowledge and experience with people that I know, I still need to get somebody in, a third party, we say a world authority, get it to an expert, get it to somebody else as quickly as possible and take it away from yourself, because you'll be burning through people left, right, and center. And I know we only say, hey, we've only got so many people on the list. I mean, that's not right these days with the social media platforms, but you really don't want to be burning through the people that you know. So lean on your upline, lean on, the leader that you're working with. Make sure that they know that you're there and you want to build the business, because as I said, they're not mind readers and they're dying to work with you. They want to work with you, but they need to know that you want to do this.
perfectly said. I guess the last question I'll ask you, Dan, is when you're on the phone with somebody, how do you explain succinctly what redox is? How do you do it?
As the expert, obviously I'm the one who can vomit over everybody because I don't know the person that my team's introducing me to. I say the same thing all of the time. I say, I'm not going to go too much into the science. I don't want to confuse you. So I'm just going to basically tell you what redox is and what it does in the body, what its function and role is. So I say we're made up of 75 trillion to 100 trillion cells, and in every single cell we have the mitochondria. I'm not too sure if you've heard of the mitochondria. Has anybody heard of the mitochondria? And I'll say to them, there's between 200 and 5,000 mitochondria in every single cell. And what the mitochondria does, it produces the energy for our cells. And as a byproduct of that energy production, there's a chemical reaction that takes place within our cells that changes the molecular structure of salt water into these molecules called redox signaling molecules. And what these molecules are responsible for is detecting cells and then calling your immune system, your systems in to either protect, repair, destroy, replace, depending on the condition of those cells. Have you heard of antioxidants? Yeah, we've heard of antioxidants. Well, guess what? Antioxidants are useless and do not work unless activated by these redox signaling molecules that we naturally produce. Why are people wearing these things around the world? And I'll literally give them an example. I'll say, and I'll put this on. And I'll say, well, guess what? These molecules that we naturally produce detect the bacteria, virus, and infection. in our bodies. I make no association with what's happening around the world apart from why do people wear masks, by the way. And without that detection, these things are totally out of control. They also balance and regulate our 12 major systems. Does anybody have a heart? Anybody at all? Well, these molecules balance and regulate our cardiovascular system, our respiratory system, endocrine, our skin, our bone, our thyroid, our immune system, nervous system. All these things are kept in balance and check by these redox molecules that we naturally produce. They also reach down to genetic level and to DNA level. So they open up genetic pathways and they remove the rust, the oxidation, the oxidative stress from our body all the way to DNA level. These are some of the function roles of redox signaling molecules. And then I say, as children, you know, we produce an abundance of these molecules. And that's why children have so much energy and they heal and recover so quick. By the time you get to my age, in our 50s, we only have 50% production. By the time we get to 70, we only have 10% production left. So a 70-year-old is healing and recovering 10 to 20 times slower than a 10-year-old. And then I do a comparison between eating food and redox, the material for the body and the labor. And you guys know, some of you guys know, I'm an advocate for fasting. And I've done plenty of fasts. I do intermittent fasting every day, and I've done up to 3-week water fasts. The point of it being, we can live for a very long time if we stopped eating food and we kept drinking water for 30, 40, 50, 60 days and beyond. And then I asked the one question I asked: how long do you think you would live? Now you know what redox does in the body. How long do you think you would live if you stopped producing redox signaling molecules right now? And that just blows it out of the water. Because some people say 5 years, some will say 3, some will say 2, some will say a year, some will say a month, some will say a week, and then we'll blow them out of the water. And that's exactly what I've said for the last 6 to 7 years, and how I explain redox. And I try and keep it as basic as possible, but give them enough information to understand the enormity of what we've got our hands on.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dan. I know that everyone got a lot of golden nuggets out of that, and totally appreciate your time and coming on here. And I don't want to take any more of it. Let you get back to your day and really just start your day, I should say. Thank you so much, guys. This recording will 100% be available. Dan, is there any parting thoughts that you want to give before we wrap up?
You know, we've learned so much from our leaders. I've mentioned Denny a couple of times. I'm going to mention Trish. The three rules of the universe, guys. Rule number 1, consistency. Rule number 2, consistency. And rule number 3, consistency. Just be consistent. Don't give up. Make sure that what you're doing is productive, and be a servant leader.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dan. I really, really, really appreciate you coming on, and anything I can do to help you, would love to. And I know that there's lots of thank yous coming in the chat. So if you guys just want to put your appreciation in there, I know Dan would love to see it. We'll start his day really, really well. Debbie says, I love your humility. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invite. Have a great day, guys.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dan. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording.